All right, here we are. Welcome to episode number 2. Yeah, number 2 of Just Craftin. My name is Ed Bossart, and like before, I am joined by two lovely lads, Mr. Shawn Hoffman over in
Hello.
California, to my left, if you will, on a map, and to my right on a map, Mr. Chris Hall.
Hey, we all right?
We're good. We love crafting.
Just translate that. That was me saying, hello, is everyone okay?
There he is, the artist.
That's
Yep.
me. Are we all good? Both okay? How are we doing?
Yeah. I'm doing good. Yeah.
Excellent.
Hanging out.
Excellent.
I need more hours in the day to do some crafting stuff. I got a lot of ideas, not enough time. Really, it's more of a willpower and a drive kind of thing. But I'm gonna keep blaming the amount of hours in the day. But I'm good.
That's the hobby life, Shawn. That's the hobby life. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my work. I don't know if you guys, I told you about that, but my work over in February, I didn't really work much for like 5 months because we got hacked by Russia. And a month ago, we came back online, and I've been working like 10 to 12-hour days. It sucks.
That's brutal.
Have you reached the point mentally where you're kind of grieving and asking yourself, what did you do for those 5 months, because you have nothing to show for it?
Yeah.
Because I've been there, and it's like, oh man, I had so much time and I didn't do anything.
That was
AKA
happening to me halfway through it. Yeah. I was like,
Rancor,
it's been like a month or two, and I didn't do shit. And I didn't paint the Rancor. That's right.
Yep. I've been watching paint dry, but not the paint that everybody wants me to watch.
Yeah. So this is a great segue. We're gonna go around the horn. I can go first because it's a good segue. But we're gonna talk about what we've been working on lately, what we've been crafting, painting, whatever, what have you, gluing, all of that, or learning what videos you've watched, what influencers you've been watching, new techniques you've learned, that kind of stuff. But this week, I finally got back in. I think it's been 6 months plus since I last painted something. Like I took a long break. Probably started before my company got hacked, and I didn't spend any of that time crafting. I think my art brain leaned into music, and that's why. Because I play piano and violin. Because I'm Asian.
Is that just part of the deal?
Yeah. Yep. No, but this week, like I said previously, I picked up my Jabba the Hutt from the Imperial Assault Jabba's Realm expansion game, and it's a little miniature of Jabba the Hutt. And this is a primer for that Rancor. This is like a warm-up for that Rancor you guys want me to paint so much. And I was like, he's a creature. He's got leathery skin, kind of like a Rancor color, a little bit more green, obviously. But I'm like, this will be a good segue in my crafting back into it. And it turned out pretty good. I sent you guys pictures. I leaned into contrast paint for this one. For the listeners that don't know, contrast paint's the kind of like cheating paint where it it loves crevices. It like leaves a little color on the surface, but then like pushes more of the color to the crevices. And with a natural looking model that has a lot of cracks and crevices, like Jabba the Hutt, wrinkles, he's fat,
a lot of folds.
Yeah, a lot of folds. They worked really well. And the thing with contrast point paint, if you're going to do it the way I did it, is you got to almost work in reverse from normal painting. So normal painting, you kind of start dark, start with the dark, and then do the lights on top. Or no, I guess not really.
Is it more like a wash?
Yeah, it is more like a wash. But I kind of so what I did, I'll just say what I did. It just made sense in my head. It's hard to explain. But I started with like a bone brown color first.
Oh yeah.
This is after I zenithal highlighted. We talked about zenithal highlighting last time, but it's like the priming of a model where you have black first and then white from above sprayed on. So the black stays in the shaded areas. The darker makes it darker. Anyway, so I started out with like a light brown / bone like color. And then I took a super light green, so I'm saying light to start. Took a super light, like a yellowy green where his green parts are. And if you look at Jabba, his arms are green and his back is green and the top of his tail.
It's tail, yeah.
And then but his face and stomach and going underneath are like the lighter tan brown colors. So I saw that and I was like, okay, I'll start with that tan color and then go to the green. So then I took that lighter green, went from the edges from where the green starts, and then I took the darker green and I kind of just like kind of wet blend, but with contrast paint. Does that make sense? So I kind of worked swiftly because contrast paint can dry semi quick and you got to be ready for it. So like so I did the green and then I did the darker green and it kind of blended together and made a nice transition from the brown to the darker green. And then I did all the like details, which isn't much on Jabba. Just that's a confession. This model took me an hour and 50 minutes to paint. So not
good.
Right.
I'm looking at a picture. It looks good.
Yeah, it's not that's not including the priming. But yeah, I did highlights on his little warts on his tail. I did a little yellowy green highlight on his tail for the top part because you got to know if you're highlighting green, it leans towards yellow. There's a whole chart online if you want to Google it. I took a lighter brown to highlight his frontal areas.
What brand? What kind of paints did you use? Ed?
Army Painter.
Nice.
Yeah. I like Army Painter. I don't know why. I lean towards it. I have Vallejo, and whenever I use it, it's kind of just. I think it's because they're older.
Vallejo, is that? I've not heard of that.
Vallejo.
How do you spell that? Or Vallejo?
Yeah. Vallejo.
Sounds right.
This actually brings me to another thing because I hadn't painted in so long. My paints have been sitting, right? This is a whole nother topic, and I want to ask you guys how you deal with this. But I kind of got that's
Vallejo.
I tried to get a little innovative and I went upstairs into my wife's drawer.
Come
again?
No, I didn't do that. I got her like a muscle massager.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
again?
I'm
Like
sure
you
he
use
did.
it for like injuries and fitness. She's a runner.
Yeah.
So it's like a deep tissue massage, like a vibrating,
like a pneumatic gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just put the paint bottle on it while it was going to shake it. I first put a ball bearing in it.
Yeah.
Then I did that. And it seemed to work pretty well. Because if you don't, I think every artist, you go a while without painting. You know, Shawn, right?
Yes.
Stuff sits on a shelf, it settles. And like any other thing, you know, stuff gets separated. So you got to mix it back up to get it back to normal.
I'm looking for my product that I have. I was just thinking, like, man, we should talk about some of our favorite like things sometime. And that was actually one of mine. I have like a little box that like comes like rubber bands. You can just put the pot on top and you turn it on and it just goes, it just shakes it like crazy, like a big paint mixer in a store, but it's real little.
Yep.
My cats hate it. So I'll put it on the floor and they'll just be like,
whacking it.
Yeah, just trying to hit it. But and I'm always afraid the cap's gonna come flying off and paint's just gonna fly everywhere like a blender. But no,
I was holding on to that cap tight. That was scaring me. I will say this is temporary, and it's like $35 on Amazon. I ordered a paint vibrator thing. You can, it's like sits on your desk, and you just turn it on, and you put the bottle on top to help mix the paint. But it seemed to work really well.
So long, I
Contrast,
don't know where mine is.
yeah. Contrast point paint definitely separates, so you got to watch for that because it's got the contrast medium in there mixed with the pigments and stuff, and they can separate. There you go. Yeah.
The paint shaker.
What you doing with that over there?
Shaking my paint, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, no. So that got my paints ready, and they worked just like new. Did some more shading with some darker brown on the bottom. Went from a darker green on the back at the lower end. Highlighted up to the top. In the eyes. This is cool. I painted over the eyes white, and then I took Yandin yellow contrast paint, which is it's a cool yellow because it gets a little orangey in the crevices, but leaves like a more yellowy yellow on the surfaces. So it's like I think it's the best contrast yellow. It's great for
he looks good. He looks grimy, but he doesn't look like he has jaundice. He looks good.
Yeah. But I free. What do you call it? Free paint, free draw, free hand. There it is. I free-handed some more black lines in his eyes because if I looked at images from him in the movies and stuff, like he's got the cat-like eye in the middle, but then he's got two other black lines on each side. So I drew those in, and then I used the contrast paint, and then I did one white dot on each eye. And final step, which is kind of cheating, but I did a gloss varnish on top with a brush.
Why is that cheating? It explain.
It makes it shiny.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, glossy. Which you can technically force people to see using just paints. You know what I mean? It's like using metallic paint when you could just use normal paint to make it look like metal.
Right. And you are not talking. I am not a purist when it comes to how can I do this in as few steps as possible. I will,
by any means necessary, my friend.
I will use more product than it needs. I'm
just saying, you'll get to, if you get deep into this crafting, you'll get to a point where you're like, I want to try making this sword without using metallic paint. And you got to, the thing is, you got to lean towards white a lot because you got to have that sheen. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you got the gray. It's a lot of blending, wet blending, all that shit. Or you can do it pretty well with an airbrush too.
But there's also a difference between taking on a challenge, like I'm going to paint a tree that looks realistic and it's not going to be brown because that's not the right color. But versus like I'm trying to be as efficient and proper as possible, like that. You're just gonna, at least for myself, like whatever the proper technique is, I just do. Like I worry enough as it is. Like I have made a couple notes about like your paint mixing stuff. I have questions about. Like, man, I worry enough about like the little things of like, is this color right? I can't worry about. I'm cheating with gloss varnish. Like,
no, yeah, and
I'm
you know what?
Hitting it.
I painted in a little spittle coming down his mouth with some white. You might see it on the picture. You might.
Yeah, I'm zoomed in right now.
But then I went over it with the gloss, so it's still kind of cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of like double covered it. Like I didn't need to do that because it was white already. But you know,
I'd say my definition of cheating is going to the store and buying a like a product that's called spit. You know, that's its only purpose. It's like, yep, this is for doing spit effects. I'm still supporting it. Go for it. It's your money. Do whatever you want. But that to me is where it's like, I don't know how to do it. I'm just going to go buy the product. I don't know how to do rust. So I'm just going to go buy rust.
I think speaking of that, we did talk about this, right? Yoo-hoo?
Like the chocolate milk?
It's like a glue. It's like a viscous glue that's stringy. So if you Yoo-hoo glue, I think they usually use it on like bottoms of shoes to reinforce soles and stuff. But I could
So it's
be
like
wrong.
real glue, not a modeling product. It's
Right.
like this is for a strong adhesive that's not rigid like super glue. It'll snap, so it goes on like shoes, so it's like strong, like an E6000 kind of thing.
Yeah, and crafters found you could take like a toothpick or whatever and like touch one to like a tooth, and bring it down to the bottom of the mouth, and it looks just like saliva, like stringy saliva, which I will use on the Rancor.
Nice, I'm gonna write that
Don't worry.
down.
One day,
Yoo-hoo.
eventually.
Just a word of advice: don't get the Yoo-hoo that's green. They're a yellow tube. Don't get the one with the green writing. Get the one with the black writing.
What's the green writing? I want to know now. Why?
Doesn't work. So this is the green
Oh.
writing. It's the greens like on the can't see it, but it's not. It's just doesn't. It's not the same. I haven't used it, but I obviously
doesn't
ordered
have
the
those
wrong
spit
thing.
effects. I love it. That's my favorite part of the craft is buying something that you think you're going to use, realizing it's the wrong thing, and then it sits in a drawer forever.
If you haven't done it, then you haven't been in it long enough.
I've got lots of stuff that I'll see at the store, especially illustration materials like pens and different things that I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll buy that, I'll use that. And by the time I actually get to use it or remember I bought it and try it, like the ink's dried out and it's just useless. Or it's like that. We talked about the desk of shame, didn't we? Like last time,
Yep.
that things just sit there. I've got a cupboard full of materials and like canvases and wooden boards that I've bought to like paint or draw on. And I go in there and I'm just like, I'll get to that. Yeah, one day I'll use that. I'll use that.
Oh yeah, that.
Oh shit.
Do you guys have it at all? Like, because this is me a lot of times where like I'll buy a product and I'll have it and I know it's there and I'll be doing a project and then I'll like, oh, I could use that, but no, I want to save that for for something that's like
specific
worth it,
thing,
or like it's really it needs to be special. It's like when is this like magical super special project gonna come? Like I'm barely getting the projects that I have now. It's like just use the stupid tools. Like I have so many sanding sticks and sandpaper and like fresh blades, but I'm always like, what if I don't want to change my blade? Like I gotta save those for like when I really need them. Like, what am I doing? It's very self-aware, but
those you sent me some sanding sticks in that care package, didn't you? They've been fucking rad. They have, Shawn. They've been really good.
Is it these?
Yes.
My 700 bags of these I got one time, and it's like, man, I don't use these as quickly as I thought I would. So yeah, they're like emery boards, but they're like sliced off. Like it looks like they were making nail files, and then they're just like the blanks off of like the ends, and they just stuff them in a bag and go, here you go, craft people, go for it.
Yeah, they're just they're so good for like
like
getting into little gaps and stuff.
Oh, you have the metal.
Like,
you have the metal.
Like files, they are, aren't they? Little files.
Help smooth out.
Yeah.
Mold lines and stuff like that.
Are your things mostly resin, Ed? Like your war paint, your war dudes, your war men?
No, well, I'm not sure what you'd call it because resin in the Warhammer world is not what the general Warhammer models are made of. There are Warhammer models that are quote resin, and they're annoying to glue.
Okay.
Because the normal plastic glue doesn't work on them. So I guess what I'm saying is it's normally plastic.
When you say plastic glue, you're talking about the glue that melts the plastic.
Yeah. So that's
like
generally what I work
styrene.
with. Yeah, that's what I generally work with. I have worked with resin. It was fucking. It's heavier. And that makes it all the more harder to glue. But you got to use like super glue and
a mask if you're sanding it.
A mask and I use some spray that speeds up super glue. You know what I'm talking about?
The accelerator.
Yeah, the accelerator that worked. That helped big time.
It's like it makes it dry instantly. Oh no, it's horrible for you. It's like what's also good. Here, speaking, not to go down this crazy tangent, but speaking of super glue, If you want a little bit of texture and you also want to make your super glue dry really fast, baking soda will do that.
Oh, mate, that's one of the first things I learned from
Yeah,
YouTube crafters. I use that all the time. It's so good. Especially if I'm like, and with the robots and stuff I make, it just adds extra like rust effect or like it looks like welding. It's fucking great. Yeah, baking soda.
It'd even be good to attach to a base, probably, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like dirt, terrain, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, saw a product that I might want to buy, and it's water effect. It's like water,
Like
I don't know if you
a
know what I'm
resin kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, and you can buy like it in a tube, and you just apply it, and you wait a day, and it dries, and it looks like fucking water. So
Oh, cool. What would you use that on? What kind of?
on a base,
On
you know,
a
like I was
base,
thinking about
yeah.
doing it on the Rancor when I get to it, because I was watching guy on YouTube, Sarastro. He does Imperial Assault models, all in Legion, Star Wars, lots of Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
And he did that. He did like a swamp on his base for the Rancor and added little metal bits and skulls onto the base and shit. And I was like, God damn, I want to do that.
So I'll tell you what I'm hearing. I'm hearing Ed found a technique and a product that he likes, and now is just looking for a solution to apply that to. He has no use for it yet. And this is how you end up with a shelf full of shit that you don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
Because I have those products.
No,
I have
no,
the
no,
ones where it's like the water, and then it's also like you can get the foam where it's like, oh, you can make it look like waves, and it's like the foamy crap on water. It's like, I'm gonna use that one. I'm gonna use that one day. It's like, oh, I have these lofty dreams, but it's like, oh yeah.
I think the more
probably use
common
that.
thing is you use it, but you bought like a giant thing of it.
Yeah.
And you use like a tiny thimble of it, and then the rest just sits on your shelf for like years.
Oh
Absolutely.
man. You're talking about my experience with dioramas where it's like, yes, you need to buy a whole bag of like fake grass, and then you use it, and it's like, wow, I used like a thimble size, and now I still have a gallon size Ziploc bag full of fake grass that will just get everywhere. It's worse than like animal hair.
It's like this giant tube of black oil paint.
Dude, that is like, I think you're doing a disservice by calling that huge. That is the biggest tube of paint I've ever seen in my life. That's like bigger than toothpaste. That is massive.
Dude, it's like one of the large, it's just for the listeners, it's like as large as the biggest tube of toothpaste you've seen. And I don't know what I was thinking buying it. Like I guess the cost effectiveness, and I bought it. But I was using it on
a mural? Like what do you paint with that?
I was using it for one little miniature mech from BattleTech, you know, like a robot, and I wanted it to be white. And painting a white robot's really hard, like just to do it, getting the shading and all that. And the recommendation was to paint it white, and then use a gloss varnish over the whole thing, let it dry, and then do the oil paint, because you can drag it around much easier.
And if you mess it up, you can take it off. Which I do
true.
a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot of paint.
And so I used like a little thimble of it for that.
Brilliant. And now it's still sat
Love
there.
it.
So this is how much I have left. The entire fucking tube.
But you could put that in a tube, thin it down, and you could like do a dramatic wash on your car and just cover your whole car with like a 4-inch brush. And still have some left over. Like that's an obscene amount of oil paint.
Yeah, that's one of the things. The other example is this look at me just like grabbing shit here. I ordered a roll of water texture plastic. It's like it's it's just like textury clear plastic in a sheet, and I have it rolled up. And
it looks like the stuff you put on a window to make it like a privacy window.
Yeah, exactly. And I use like maybe like a 8 inch by 8 inch. No, less than that. 5 inch by 5 inch part of it for a shield on one of my Warhammer Knights, my Chaos Knights, to make it look like it looks like because when I got it, the shield, it's just a frame, and it's supposed to be like a shiny electrical shield, and you're supposed to use your imagination to picture it. And I was like, I'm gonna use this fucking white water texture, put it over that, and people can be like, oh, that's cool. It's like a shield in a shield. So I used a tiny bit of that, and I still have a giant roll of it. But that one project that's coming up, maybe sometime, I might use it for it, right?
You never know.
So, years and years and years and years ago, I used to do a lot of painting on canvas, like acrylics and oils on canvas. And I remember we were on holiday. I specifically remember this memory. We were on holiday with my wife's parents, and my daughter was 6 months old. She turns 15 next month. And we were in this little gift shop on holiday in Norfolk, and I saw they got a little art section, and there was like these weird shaped canvases, and I got really excited because the ones I could buy at the time, I wasn't buying stuff offline at the time. The only ones I could access were like normal square ones, and I bought these weird shaped canvases, and then they had this jar of varnish to lock in the paint, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, because I'd never seen it before. And I bought this jar of varnish, and I still have it unopened, sat in my materials cupboard. My daughter was 6 months old. It's still every now and again I'll shake it to make sure it's not solid. But yeah, I was always afraid. I was like, oh, I finished my canvas. I don't want to put this varnish on it and ruin it. It might like ruin it. So I've just never used it, and it's just sat there like varnish jar of shame. Another product that I bought that, yeah.
You're really waiting it for it to kind of like ferment and become a more interesting product that you can use in an interesting model. It's like,
yeah, exactly. I'll use it. I'll use it one day. One day I'll paint another canvas and I'll lock it in with that 15-year-old varnish. Goodness knows how long it had sat on the shelf in that gift shop as well. So it could be like 25-year-old varnish. Who knows? Anyway, let's get back to crafting.
Nice. And so, Ed, I had a question for you. I mean, this is kind of a general question. Like, kind of, you were talking about painting your Java with the different greens and the yellows and stuff. And it's kind of hinges on the stuff that I always end up worrying about. I never end up having a problem with it, but it's probably because I overdo it. But like, what are your guys' strategies for when you're like, are you like, say you need a green? Are you hardcore? I have the basic colors. I'm going to mix it until I get what I need. You try to find the color that you like. You buy the color, like, oh, I need a forest green. I'm gonna go get a forest green. And then on the second part of that is, I'm always worried about, like, I'm gonna mix this color and I really don't want to have to try to like match it again. What if I run out or it dries? So it's like, how much do I mix versus how do I store it? Because it's not going to be easy, especially when you're doing custom colors, to kind of come in and correct something. And because the times I have done that, I'm like, well, that's not close at all. Yeah, I'm just curious about that, because that's something I always worry about when I'm painting something. It's like, oh god,
it's definitely a learning experience. I went through the same thing. I'm like, yeah, that's not what I wanted. I just fucked that up. I end up buying, like, I have 3 different greens. Nope, 4. And it's just because I had an army that dealt with a lot of greens, and I wanted to be faster at doing it. You know, a Warhammer army to paint. And so now when I have to deal with, same with browns, all that stuff. So now when I have to deal with those kind of colors, I am ready. I tackle it hard. It's easy. It's not easy, but it's, now that I know what to do, it's easy. But same with that tree beard. I think that was part of it that got me more into getting those kind of colors. The tree beard I painted for Chris. And then over time you build up a stock paints, and you can just kind of, but the blending helps in the transition of the colors. So like, you gotta understand the drying times and being ready, and also blend. So I do blend contrast paints somewhat. Or I've even blended contrast with non-contrast. So I did that on this actually. I did the yellow with the military green or militarum green, whatever it is, to make the highlight, which is risky because highlight you want to stay on an edge, right? It's a highlight, and you're putting a little contrast medium in there. So it worked. It worked. Actually, worked pretty well, I thought. But I leaned more towards the yellow. Obviously, it was just a little bit of that green to get the pigment in there. I could have used acrylic, but I did. I don't know. I wasn't thinking hard enough, I guess. But yeah, I find having a few colors of every color, if that makes sense. Few browns. I have a light brown. Is like 3 to 4 of every color.
You're not rocking the Crayola 8-pack and mixing all of your colors by the
No.
primaries.
No, because I don't know. I find it time consuming. As you know, I come from an army painting side. It's time consuming to make the right color, and then you run out because you only like mixed a tiny bit of everything, and then you're like, okay, I gotta make it again. And you like put it like how many brush fulls of this did I put in? And you're like, shit, I don't remember or whatever. And also, if you do just a little bit, it can dry. You know what I'm saying? So you got to use a wet palette. Wet palettes really help if you're blending a lot. I have used that in the past. But lately I've been leaning contrast paint for bulk painting and then straight acrylic for highlights. And that's when you can blend because you don't need much paint. You can blend and like you don't have to gradually do colors from one end to the other kind of thing, from one color to the next color, because it's just the straight edge highlight.
What about you, Chris? Are you a mix it once and store it, or that doesn't bother you? You'll just mix more later if you have a particular color, or
on this current crafting journey, I have not had the testicular fortitude to mix any colours myself yet. I'm just using basic stock colours at the minute.
Cool.
But however, history has proven to me, outside of this crafting realm, when I have mixed colours in the past for previous projects in different mediums, I generally tend to overcompensate. And that tube that Ed showed with the black, I would probably pour half of that out and mix that just to be on the safe side, because I'm always afraid, like if I'm mixing a color and I know damn well if I run out, I ain't mixing the same color and getting that tone or shade right. Like, so I would overcompensate. But currently, I'm just using stock color. I've found that like if I've got once I've put a basic color down, that the washers and the shades and stuff help to get the different colors that I need on top of that.
And have you played around with wet blending on the model? No. From one color to the next. So like you do droids, so you don't really need to do that. But like in like Java, for instance, with the skin from the lighter brown to the green.
Yeah.
You're moving. So I went from like light brown to like a yellowy green to like a darker green to then a darker green. And I kind of just like sloshed it on and like kind of like in a quick fashion because you don't want it to dry yet. And you kind of just like blend it together and it worked pretty well.
I worry too much for that. I cannot work that fast. I would do one color, then I'd do another, and then I would just wait for that dry slowly. But like wet blending is one of those things where I'm like, that takes a level of confidence or just wing it attitude that I struggle with. Where it's like, I'll figure out how to do it after the fact, which is just slapping it on there and being like, and going blending it in between is. I need the ability to.
I think you just got to do it, and I think you use a little more water than you think. And like in my case, I use contrast paint, so I had contrast medium and stuff. But with regular paints, you just use a little more water than you think, and you stick to it, and you just kind of maneuver it, move a little bit fast, and you'll be surprised. It does work pretty well.
When I do organic stuff, which is not very often, I'll like let it dry, then I'll do like a really thin wash over the top, like, and like let that dry
Yeah.
and just kind of keep going very, very light and just like and then build up like the dark. That's how I would do the dark green and just like let it build up because I just don't have the fortitude for the wet blending. I could practice, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna
Yeah, paints are
keep doing
scary,
it.
man. I'm loving using them, but compared to my confidence with pens, it's night and day. Because I love, like, obviously using illustration markers and stuff for the drawing that I do. I love blending with them, and I love that just like diving in and. But it was like scary learning how to do it. But I'll get there with the paints. Give it a go. You just got to trust the process, ain't you, and dive straight in. So I've just recently used some speed paints for the first time,
Oh yeah.
and that
Nice.
was that's been a bit of a revelation. Cheat paints, as Ed calls them. I cheated.
So let's
So
see.
I took your advice from the last episode, and that little dude I was working on, I restarted right from the start. So I sprayed in black, did my zenithal highlight. Is that what you call it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zenithal.
So
Yep.
yep.
I think it's also
So
called like
sprayed in black.
point source highlighting or something like that, or something
Yeah.
like that, where it's
Force
easier than
perspective. Something.
Yeah.
Sprayed in black
I
all
don't know.
over. Sprayed in white from above. So there was still some black areas and shaded bits showing. And then just went at him with a green speed paint. And I was quite stunned, actually. I thought like I'd created fire. I was like, shit, look at this. This looks rad already. Like before I'd put any washes on it or like done any highlighting or anything or any other colours, I was like, yeah. Because it just fell into all the crevices and the cracks, and I'd instantly got shading like lighter and darker areas, and it looks pretty cool without even doing any weathering on it. So I can't wait to get to town weathering it and like highlighting.
Do you take
some
a lot
the
of
metal
pictures when you
panels
do
and
it?
stuff.
Like when you model, do you take a lot of pictures like in between?
Not as many as I should do, or as many that get requested afterwards. Like, I mean, like when I show someone something, they're like, "Oh, sick! Have you got anything? Like, what did it look like before?" Yeah, I got in the zone and didn't take any photos. I was just working away. But
Like because I've started doing that a lot more because I get that same thing too. Like I zenithalled my Raphael turtle, and I'm like, oh, I love this. It looks so great. And then it's like you keep adding more, and then you look back at the pictures and go, oh, it did look cool, but like it looks way better now. And like you could just see the progress and like what
yeah,
because there's so many times I'm like I'm an inch off of something and I'm like just meticulously doing it. Then I'm like, am I actually doing anything? Is it actually changing over time? But then looking at the photos and go, oh no, like that, it was all worth it. I wasn't just like micro managing this. Like it did contribute to a larger thing. Like I'm glad I didn't stop and
yeah.
I just kept futzing with it.
I've got photos of it where it was before I resprayed it,
Mm.
and I'd got further in the process then than I have now, and it looks a million times better now than it did further down the line then, if that makes sense.
That's good.
So I'm excited to see the next phase of it when I actually
Yeah, even if you're
find
just
time.
using straight acrylics over your zenithal highlight, I mean, you're just covering it all up. Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does provide a base if you're using lighter colors. But for people that don't know, where Chris, I put you in the group that people that do know, people that don't know how light works on objects and how to color them and paint them and where shading is, zenithal highlighting is a great way for someone to see where shading should be. And then you can paint throughout that. Figure it out.
Yeah.
The key is the key to that is thinning your paints, your layer paints after you zenithal. which is surprisingly common that some people don't do. Like I've watched videos of people who are giving feedback where they're like, I zenithal, then I took my war painter paint, squirted onto a piece of paper plate, and then I started painting it on, and now it's all one color. It's like, did you thin it? Did you thin it enough? Like thin it down. You can always put more on. It's hard to take it back off. Like,
And what would one use to thin it? Just add water or?
Or
it
a
depends.
medium.
Asterisk.
Yeah.
like a war painter. Like a lot of people will just say water's fine. Like if you know what you're doing, like if Chris Hall is asking me, what would I thin it with? I'm like, you could probably thin it with anything and you will be fine because you understand how paint flows and works and you'll be good. There are other acrylic thinners that got like retarders or stuff in it that will like give you longer running, like wet times and things like that. There's ones that'll help kind of pull the meat, like the pigment together and help flow it around. Like there's just different ones, or help keep you from drying on your brush too quickly. Like it's kind of different chemicals and stuff, but most of the time water will be fine.
Yeah.
Or an acrylic.
From Citadel,
thinner.
they have something called Lamian Medium that can turn an acrylic paint somewhat into a wash the more you add it to it, which is
Right.
which is the same as, I guess,
So
watering it down.
your Citadel acrylics, Ed, like your base colors, do you water those down at all when you need
When I
to?
paint with them, yeah, I always
Yeah.
I try to use. It's changed a little lately because I started using these. What are these called?
Pop sockets.
Fidget toy things.
Yeah, the
pop sockets.
Pop sockets for paint. I used to use a wet palette, so that would automatically do it. So this I gotta So I just use my brush and I just put little bits of water in it. Don't ever use the paint right out of it unless you want a texture. There's always an exception. Unless you want like a texture or something off of it. I don't know. But
unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah. It's always good to do thin coats. So you want a little bit of water with it, with the base acrylic. And that takes experience. Like you'll do it and be like, oh, it's not even like it's not doing anything, and because you put too much water or whatever, you know what I mean? You'll figure it out, and you'll realize also over time how to do it so that your brush doesn't have too much paint on it. So you dip the brush in it, and then you gotta clear off the brush enough so you can do super detailed shit.
Well, it's never static. Like no matter what kind of thinner you're using, water or like an acrylic thinner, like using like the little pop socket things or a wet palette, like it's not like you mix it and thin it once and it stays that way. Like the second you mix it, that's drying. The water's evaporating, the acrylic thinner's doing this. So it's this constant like I tend to over thin because then I can always add a little bit more paint on the side and pull it in, mix. Okay, now I got too much thin. Like I don't want to keep adding more thinner because that's just a pain because I use like an Tamiya acrylic thinner that I love. And so I don't want to keep getting the eyedropper boop boop boop. So like I'll really get it thin and then just kind of keep pulling it in. And then it will like I'll paint with it and it'll dry a little bit and then be like, oh, like keep spinning around. Oh yeah.
Speaking of buying a lot of things just to get some pipettes, I bought a thing off Amazon.
Yeah.
And I must have got like 300 pipettes. So here's a giant bag of pipettes.
And you'll use them. Yeah, you'll use every. And then wait till you get into airbrushing, and then you'll buy.
Oh yeah, I use it for that. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, adding mediums because there's something called contrast medium, which can turn any acrylic paint if you add contrast medium to it to kind of like a contrast paint, or you can add it to a contrast paint that doesn't. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it. So some contrast paints from Citadel, their pigments hold to surfaces more. They're like darker. I think it's because they're less blended. Does that make sense?
They
They're
have like a
less.
finer. They have a finer pigment in them. That
They're more of a
catches.
dominant pigment. They're
Mm.
not like a. We made this with 3 pigments, put them together, and then now this is like this light green as a contrast paint. But now this is like the true green pigment or something.
Mhm.
I don't know. But you can turn that by just adding more contrast medium into a lighter one that goes more towards crevices and leaves more lighter color. So it's like it makes it like a lighter. If you want the underneath color to show through more, underneath base that you put on it to shine through more. So like I know there's a purple I got, Leviathan purple, that is super purple. It's a contrast paint, but does not act like a typical contrast paint. You paint it on, yes, a lot of it goes towards crevices, but it leaves a solid purple on
Yeah,
surface.
it's kind of almost behaving more like a glaze, where it's
Yeah.
like it's not the pigment pieces aren't big enough to kind of flow and move, and then the medium is clear. It's like it is well distributed through the medium, and so you've almost got like a glaze over the top of it, and it's still darker in the crevices, but
Yes.
it's not
But
clear.
it's still gonna like, and then you'll come across other contrast paints that will hardly leave much on the surfaces. Like it's like a light, super light blue. Like I have one that's like a frost blue. So like obviously it's meant to be put on whitish base, but they generally all are. But a lot of the blue will go towards the crevices. I think I used this on when I painted Kev's snow speeder. I did it on the snow on his base. So it made it look like icy. But it leaves the surfaces, mostly leaves them alone. So leaves them white. So you'll come across contrast paints that do that, and contrast paints that absolutely do not do that, but still are darker in the crevices. And so you got to watch for that. Test them out. Don't throw it on thinking it's going to be the best thing ever on the model.
That's kind of the other reason why you don't just go straight from the bottle sometimes, unless you're familiar with the paint. Like, and that's why I'll always mix a little bit of some kind of thinner in it, because it also tells you like how it's going to react to certain things. Like especially as you get into like washes, filters, shades, any kind of weathering effects that have like different sizes and consistencies of pigments, like especially like grime and things like that. Like you mix a little bit of water with it on a palette, like in it, there's some of them that'll just like they'll clump up. Like it's like, oh, okay, I shouldn't mix out with anything that's still kind of wet, because that'll just become a pigment booger on the side, and it's really hard to undo. So it's still it's like a way of kind of testing. Like you have a couple different thinners that kind of how they behave with things, and you can just mix a little bit in and be like, oh, I should not mix this. Like there are certain of my weathering things that I cannot put with anything enamel. Like I mean, it's obvious. Like I can't mix that with any kind of enamel, because it just destroys the entire medium and the pigment, and it becomes this crazy spider web booger mess. And it's like, yep, glad I tested that, because that'll be hard to undo. Um, so that's kind of a good little security check before you start slapping stuff on a model.
So a prime example of this was with the Jabba, because like I said earlier, I had that bone brown. So on the top of his tail, it's green, but I wanted it to be lighter because it's the top of his tail, right? That's where light's more prominent. It's not going to be dark there. So I was like, I know this Militarum green is pretty dark, and I'm going to use it, and I want more of it on the backside towards the ground than I do on the top. So I took it and I added some contrast medium to it to make it more contrasty / cheating. Does that make sense? And then I use that on the top of the tail, and it let that bone brown come through more. / light green. I forgot to mention that I had put the light green over it beforehand, so it's like a light green brown coming through that darker green. It's just
we're a bunch of fucking nerds, aren't we?
I know we are. I love talking about it. I didn't know how much I love talking about this, but you learn all this just fucking doing it around, and it's a fast way to. Like I said, I painted in under 2 hours. So
Well, then it just gets worse too, because like there's some people who are like, oh, they're all about the techniques or products, and like I've caught myself like, especially since I got into airbrushing, I get myself more into trying to understand. Like I'm not a, I have no chemistry background or anything like that, but just trying to understand like the chemistry of the different products and like the mediums, the thinners, the pigments, and how they're going to react, so I can like take some of the guesswork out of it, and it's become like this fascination of mine, especially since I use so many lacquers and enamels. Just that order of operations and like the different
yeah,
effects I can
that's a
get.
realm I don't know.
It's
I
a
sit in the acrylic realm. That's what I do.
I think there's times where I was like I love acrylics and I have nothing against them, but there's times where I like I think I was so resistant to thinning and like that whole prep. Like I just wanted to get into it that I think I had some bad experiences with acrylics, and then I've had better experiences with like enamels and things like that because they are so undoable. Like I could cover a whole thing in just enamel sludge, but then I could take a little bit of enamel thinner on a like a this is like a not it for those who can't see, it's like a Q-tip, but it's like a super Q-tip, like plastic with a spongy thing on the end. I could put a little bit of enamel thinner on there, and I can just wick it all the way off until it's only in the spots I want it to be. It's like, yes, I can't do that with acrylic because acrylic
Right.
dries differently, hardens differently. Enamels, it could be on there forever, and I get a little bit of enamel thinner, and it's like,
And that's
see
why I
ya.
got this giant tube, was to do that exact technique, was to
Yep.
put it on and then move it around. This
Because
giant
at the end of
tube
the day,
oil paint.
I don't really care about painting. I just want to weather stuff. Like if somebody would just ship me finished bottles,
Yeah.
like I'll weather that all day. That's my favorite part.
I love rust effects, all that shit. I love doing that.
Yeah.
Streaking grime, this rust effects, the grime, the like water, like dried water, like when like on the side of boats where you see like the white kind of streaking down. Ugh, fascinates me. And
And
it makes you a crazy person in real life too, the more you get into it, because then you'll go places and like look at stuff and try to talk to your partner, be like, look at the way the sediment just kind of comes off that and just drapes and then kind of hits this and flows down. And it's so cool. You're like, you're a psycho. Like,
you know what feels
please
the
stop.
best? Is doing that highlight dry brush at the end. And it's just like
And
everything just pops out and you're like, oh my God, that feels so good.
that's the cheater. You want to talk about cheating. The dry brush at the end is like, oh, I should have done this for the beginning and just not wasted my time with everything else. The dry brushing is, I do it for everything. Edge highlighting, all of it. It's easy peasy. So Chris, what else have you been, you have any other projects going on right now, or any other?
Yeah, so I'm still working on the droids that I talked about last time. So obviously I've redid that guy using the boss art technique, because I've still got I wrote down two techniques, didn't I? I wrote down the boss art technique and the Hoffman technique. So, and now I have got some varnish spray that I bought for another project that I can use on the boss art on the Hoffman technique. So I'll try that.
I saw him pop up a little bit. I saw some green for a second. I'm like,
oh, sorry.
I think we got,
yeah.
I thought we got a little.
So
look at him.
This guy's obviously nowhere near finished, but I don't know if you remember what he looked like last time. You can see that he's lighter up here, and then he's all
Yes, he is
darker down here. And I've just started.
There's something about that green that I like. That green, I don't know.
Yeah. So that is the Army Painter Speed Paint Orc Skin color.
Nice.
very nice.
So yeah, I got an Amazon gift voucher, and I was like, "Oh, I can finally get those paints." And I got a set of 10 speed paints, like basic colors. So we got blacks and browns, blues. They were like 35 quid. So that is English pounds sterling, if not dollars. So I've got him. So I'm still working away on him. And then I had this dude last time, but I've just been doing like some chipping away and putting some little like paint chips on him. So that was like the first time I've been trying to do super fine detail. So I'd got like, and just what you were talking about a minute ago, Ed, there was times when I was trying to put that detail on and I got far too much paint on my brush. And I had to be like, So I've had to go back in.
Trial and error, yeah.
Yeah, I've had to go back in with the bone like cream color and get some of that out that I didn't want and stuff. But yeah, that was fun. That was. Took me
So,
a couple of hours as well.
do you want to talk about chipping?
Uh,
That might need to be a whole episode itself. Like
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
Like
the
I
salt,
had to
the
do
salt,
that. Yeah.
the salt method, all the other or the hairspray
I have
method.
quick
all
ways
the-
of doing it. Obviously, I know you're doing it your way, which is great. But yeah, I have quick ways to do it.
Ed's got
and
games to
then-
play.
Then you can
He's-
like
I
highlight
got-
them.
I guess what's interesting about this is like Ed. You I feel like you're coming in from a perspective of like my end goal is to play the game mostly. Like, and I have to get through this to play the game. And it's like I have nowhere to be, and I'll sit there and meticulously fart with the same pipe for 9 weeks. And so it's interesting that like you have quick techniques, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put this product on, like especially like the mask, the pink masking stuff you can paint on. So you spray over top of it and peel all the mask off, so it like blots, so you can have an underlayer of paint and stuff. Love it.
Maybe that's what you
Hate it
need,
when I'm
Shawn.
doing it.
You need the guys to come around at the weekend, and you're on a time scale. You're like, right, the boys are coming around. I've got my fucking campaign on Saturday night. I've got to get this army finished. That's the pressure that Ed's under when he's pulling out all these cheat codes.
So that's what's funny. That's actually
But
how
I
I
also-
started with all of this. It's like I started because I came from board gaming, then I've discovered X-Wing miniatures, and then I realized I hated leaning over the top of a table for 3 hours. I'm like, I really just want to paint these models, and I started doing that. And then it's like, whoa, they sell models? Like,
Yeah.
this game, screw this game. Like, I could sit by myself and like meticulously do this and sit in a chair and not be in a hot board game shop all day. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with my models that I'm not finishing. But I am. This does motivate me to get back into it. Like after the first episode, I got a lot done on some things. I got them all out, and maybe this will be the fire to keep powering through it.
Yeah, after last episode, I went and chipped away on these 2 little droids. And then this is not to derail what we're currently talking about, but it is crafting. A friend of mine's getting married next week, and she asked me to make these signs that she'd seen on the internet out of wood. She wanted me to paint "Just Married" on these 2 sheets of wood. And she bought these fucking gnarly bits of fence wood in to work and was like, "Oh, can you use this?" And I was like, No. That is nothing like the reference photo you've sent me. If I'm doing you a job, I'm going to do it properly. So I sourced some better wood. I shaped it all up. My dad does wood turning, so he's got a workshop. So I went to my dad's workshop and I spent a day, mate, working with wood, and it was great.
Mhm.
Really, really enjoyed like using a different medium and working with my hands, like shaping this wood, sanding it down, getting it all shaped up, getting it primed and ready. I stained it up, I should have painted just crafting, shouldn't I? Not just married. And I'd be like, hey, I've done those things for you. Just crafting.
Just crafting.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but yeah. And then I painted on top of the wood stain, and then I locked it in with the varnish spray that I got, which was hella expensive.
Did you hand letter those? Like, or was it more like, did you draw it out and then fill it? If that,
She picked a font that she really liked. I
Mhm.
printed that out to size because that's my thing. I'm like, I can draw and paint, but there's no way I was not confident enough to freehand that onto the wood.
I
So
was.
it's impressive nonetheless.
Damn,
yeah.
if freehanded that.
I was scratching my head for ages, like, how am I going to do this? So what I ended up doing is I printed it out to size. I bought some carbon copy paper, put that on top of the wood, drew over the printout, and then I'd got the letters on there before I started working on it and sanding it. And after I'd stained it, you could just see a faint outline of where I was going. And then I painted on top of that and filled it all in. and then locked it
They
in.
look good. They look
Locked
really
it in
good.
with the varnish. And then we drilled holes either side at the top, and I bought some like garden twine and made them like so they're hanging signs. So, but yeah, that was rad. Back to modeling. So that was like a kind of a crafting job that I've done that's sidetracked me off of painting my little droids and shit. But yeah, what's going on? Everyone's laughing.
No, I know that I think Ed got distracted for a second, and so just watching him being all animated, like he's like, ah. What's funny though is I haven't done a lot of modeling. I've been doing little bits and pieces of stuff here and there, like actually building this B-wing. But my crafting thing that I've been doing actually is pretty close to what you just talked about. And I was like, oh, should I talk about it? Should I not? Because I'm in that like trying to figure it out phase. So like we have a friend of ours who he goes out into the middle of nowhere and he puts this like poster board in his window that he like hand wrote with a Sharpie. It's like, oh, I'm a volunteer, like blah, 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 volunteer. And it's just, he puts it in the back of his truck and he puts it up in the window so like people don't tow his car or whatever. And he's like, oh, I got nominated to like make him a new one because I was like, I could do that, but I don't want to like. So it needs to be something that can like. He says he stores it flat, so it doesn't need to like fold up or anything. But it's like, all right, how can I make like a nice sign that goes in the windshield? Because this one's like destroyed. But I'm like, but I really don't want to hand letter it or like do a projector or anything like that. I'm like, how can I put something in my laser cutter and then do a digital print onto that, and then I can do whatever on top of that. Like, what's the best way to do that? Should I do a colored poster board and just cut all the way through it, and then do like another contrasting color behind it, solid, so it's like sees through it, and it's like 2 poster boards thick? Should I? Because I don't want to cut through like I don't want to do like wood because he's like sticking a piece of wood up in his windshield because it needs to be like 2 foot by 3 foot or whatever poster board is, like whatever that big sizes. Like, so I've been trying to figure out because I know I do not want to like get a poster board and do like a middle school kid project of like, I'm gonna draw the letters out like on this thing that I don't like. I did because it's not like it's a wedding where it's like it needs to be nice. Like, no, this is just a sign that goes in somebody's windshield. Like, I'm not gonna spend a bunch of time on it. But like, what could I do? So that's what I've been in that realm, and I've also been like you were saying. I'm not going to talk about my deck on here, but like I've been doing a lot of the woodworking.
Oh, I knew you. I thought that's where you were going.
No, I was like, oh,
talk about his deck.
Just decking. I'm out there oiling it. But no, it does feel good. It does feel good to kind of get out there, mix up, and I think that's motivated me to want to come back in and do more of the modeling. It's like because now I'm sick of being out there. Like, no, if I'm coughing up sawdust one more time. Like, all right, back in here. Now it's time to get me with the chemicals and not the sawdust. So just fighting them battles. But yeah, that's where I'm at with my crafting. I would be into the Halloween stuff more. Like, and we could talk about this in a future when we get closer to Halloween. But like, we're not going to be in town this year. So it's like, I don't have to worry about tombstones and skeletons and things like that. But yeah, so I'm just trying to nail down what I should do. Quick and easy, but still quality because you care, but not wasting a bunch of time with it.
That's my game right there.
Yeah. I know for a fact I'll be really motivated when I leave this call. And then obviously it's late my time, so I'll go to bed and then I'll wake up tomorrow morning and there'll be a fucking list of jobs as long as my arm that I've got chores that I've got to do around the house. And then the next thing I know, it's like 3 weeks time and the models are still just sat there. And I've got illustration like jobs and projects backed up like you wouldn't believe. So yeah.
I think we're going out to a wine bar or a whiskey bar after this because I got a friend in town. And so when I get off there, I'm going to be motivated and be like, I'll do it tomorrow. Then tomorrow I'm going to wake up with a little man with a jackhammer inside my head going, you're not doing anything today. So I feel that. And it's like, maybe I'll edit the episode and be like reinvigorating and be like, yeah, let's build this model. I mean, you can see it here. You can see my sprues all hanging up here, just taunting me.
Oh, yeah.
Just do it. Build me.
Slay that gray.
Yeah, build it.
Slay the gray.
And this one, I don't know if not to talk about sprues, but like, do the clear ones ever stress you out? Because it's like,
I
can't
don't
stand
work
it.
with clear, really.
What are we gonna do with you? Because you
Not
can't stand
fun.
it. Because if you mess up like panel lines or anything on anything that's gray or like normal sprues, you can paint it, do whatever. But clear is meant to be clear, so it's like
Right.
you have to like keep it pristine, like windows or whatever all this other stuff that engine covers. Because otherwise, a little scratch or whatever, it's like, well, that piece is hosed
The
forever.
closest
So
the closest I got to it was like bases, stands for flying models
mm.
were clear, but they always gave you the option to not use those, and I never did.
I did forget about something, and I'll chat about it for a second. Our buddy, sitting in the corner, Andy Bell, sent us that video from Gamey Builds about the guy who built the RC truck, and I picked up a technique from that I was pleasantly surprised by, and I'm going to, like, I think, Chris, with you doing the scratch builds, and then with this new technique, it's like, ooh, I'm kinda getting the scratch building bug where so I have that laser cutter, but you can't put styrene, like, sheets in it because
Yeah.
that's not great. That will be very bad fumes for you, just melting that stuff, so
So
I can't do that.
what do you use it for, Sean? What
I
materials do
cut
you
wo
put in it?
I cut wood, I cut, like, chipboard, like, acrylic plastic,
Oh, nice.
so,
How
it's
big
it's
is
up
it?
there, but
What kind of?
it's a glow forge, so it can do, maybe 2.5 feet by it can technically do really, really long stuff, and you just keep shifting it through, but
Yeah.
I haven't done that because I just make sure my projects that can fit within the bed, so maybe 2 feet by 3 feet-ish, 20 inches by something else, I don't know, but I cut a lot of wood, um, like a lot of veneer stuff, like I could do wood stickers, I did, a lot of light switch covers, like wood themed. I make Christmas ornaments galore. So like every year we cut our own Christmas tree down here in the area.
Yeah.
You can get them, you can do it for like $5. So when the tree at the end of the season, I'll cut all the branches off and I'll take like the bottom trunk and then I'll take a saw and just chop them into little log circles. And then now I've got endless dried logs that I can make Christmas ornaments out of when people come to visit or as
Or
Christmas gifts.
coasters.
Or coasters, and you can just put them in
Nice.
in the glow forge, and you can do cutting, it can do engraving, it can do scoring. Here, let me just grab it. I
What's
made
it called?
this. It's called a glow forge. I've had it for a couple years, but they have like
A
they
what?
have a glow forge, but they have cheaper, like lighter weight versions now. Like that technology has really come a long way. Oh, I made this. I sit right here. This is cork. It's like
Oh,
a
that's
cork
awesome.
coaster, and I
Nice.
engraved Tatooine on it. I made this. This is my arcade fight stick. This was like my test version. That's why it looks all stupid. But I cut these sheets of acrylic and cut the holes and cut the panels and glued it
Nice.
all together and like did all that.
Good
This
podcasting con.
it's an arcade fight stick. It's like a clear acrylic box. So this bass guitar I have behind me.
No
one of
way.
them,
Yeah.
can you see the pick guard? It's like engraved
Yeah.
with like an octopus
Yeah.
on it. That's all done on the glow forge. I cut the pick guard out on it and I engraved the octopus on it.
That's
Um,
amazing.
This
Sweet.
black pick
You
guard
should
on
do
that
like a
one is
chimera
all
thing, like with bronze Star Destroyer and put it on there.
I technically could. I just need the designs. That black pick guard on that one is all laser cut too. And then I took a router and routed the edges down on it.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
can cut all sorts of stuff. I cannot cut styrene because acrylic, I can cut acrylic, but I cannot cut styrene because styrene is, well, one, it'll just melt and the fumes that it puts off are not good. Oh, I can engrave
Is styrene like
laptops.
foam? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
Like,
styrene is the stuff that like models are
that.
made out of.
Yeah.
The stuff, any that plastic that you can melt with that glue and it melts it and sticks together. That's polystyrene. It's the same as styrofoam, like that comes in packaging. They're the same thing, but one is like expanded polystyrene.
Aerated. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is not aerated. And so it's the same stuff. But yeah. And I can also engrave laptops, like anodized aluminum. If you have a MacBook, like you can put it in there and
Wow.
engrave it. I don't know where my old laptop is, but it has like a big octopus and like my name and stuff on it. And that was
Glowforge.
nerve wracking. Yeah. I'm sure
Nice.
I'm probably looking at like 50 things that I've done, but it's really the best for making gifts for people. Oh, like Ed, you have that paint rack, like what you put all your little paint things in. That's all like CNC. I can make those. I can make all the little, cut the wood out, cut the sides out, and then just glue it all together to be like a little
Yeah,
rack.
yeah. I bought a little paint rack made like that off eBay and glued it together myself, and so it came like flat packed and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's,
Sweet.
I can do that. I could do that kind of stuff.
Before I sidelined you, asking you what you use that for, why were you telling us about it?
The Gamey Builds RC truck thing. There was something that he did. Like, because I've always wanted to use the laser cutter for modeling stuff, but it's like I don't know how to do it. But what he did was he took a chipboard, which is like a poster board. If people don't know what that is, like it's just a real thin. It's not cardboard, but it's not paper. It's whatever that crap is in between. That's like an action figure cardboard backing, like the bubbles are on. He cut out like panels on those, like cut out pieces. But then it's like, okay, now you have those, but how do you integrate those into a scratch build model? He covered them in Mod Podge, and then you're able to glue it, paint it, do whatever you do because it will fill those fibers. And it's like, oh, that's genius. I can like make it, like have a droid, like say like a cup or just whatever. I keep looking at this like prescription bottle, like it's like those orange prescription bottles. I'm like, I could make a droid out of that, and I could just go in the Glowforge, cut some chipboard out, like little panels, glue them on that, Mod Podge them, and then boom, easy peasy. And I can use a laser cutter because I don't want to.
Shawn,
Oh,
you're talking my language here. Do
I
you know how
got
many
Mod Podge.
like, pill bottles and little plastic bits I've got in boxes ready to be droids? Yes, I love this shit. Do
ideas. Got ideas. I got
Dude,
ideas.
I've
man.
watched stuff because like I'm into Star Wars, obviously. So like I've watched stuff about making terrain, like buildings you'd see on Tatooine or wherever, and just taking random shit like toilet paper tubes, toilet paper tubes, paper towel tubes, or any like trash that would normally be trash, and you just kind of like use it to create buildings and then paint over it. And if you had the time, it could come out pretty good. You just need, the time.
One of these days we'll have to talk about dioramas and stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube, and I forget his name. I must have watched this build about 4 times because it's that impressive and it blows my mind that much. But he makes Howl's Moving Castle, a model of Howl's Moving Castle out like just out of cardboard and junk and plastic bottles, and the end result it's insane. And that's one of the first videos I watched where I was like, I've got to give this a go. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. And he uses a lot of Mod Podge on that to like rough it up and get it paint ready and tactical.
So now I'm motivated. I think that's the thing that like has piqued my interest. Now like my my current like hyper focus, hyper fascination is like, all right, I think I'm gonna do a scratch build. I got lots of little bits and bobs. I got little pipes and things like that, and leftover bits and bobs. And,
let's get some yogurt parts and some crafting foam and stick it all together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then prime it and set it on my shelf for like 3 years. I'm excited.
That's the way.
That's it. You guys.
As long as you got that vibrating thing to loosen up them paints. Yeah, that thing.
Here it is. It's called the Robart Hobby Paint Shaker. It is, and it takes like 4 D size D batteries. It's like
damn.
Holy shit. Yeah.
It doesn't mess around. Yeah. Cool.
Speaking of chipping, you think about using the foam because you said spongy foam,
Where you take the sponge brush and rip it, and it's all messed up,
yeah,
and then you
and then
dip
it's
it in the
like
paint and dry it
random,
off
and
and
you
dab
just
it.
like dab. That's what I was doing
It's
for
cheating. Ed.
highlight. It is
Fucking, yeah,
cheating,
it's cheating. Ed.
but
Get it together, man.
on my Chaos Knights, I used it on the edge for edge highlighting because they're bigger models. They're like half a foot,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah. You showed us that last time.
yeah.
You've
So
done
I
it
use
on
that for that
yeah.
chipping, but then for like bullet holes, I was using the sponge, and but not a lot. But I dip it in black. Dab.
Well, you've got enough, haven't you, in that tube? So
yeah. and then it's fun because then you highlight the black, like they're like actual holes, and it looks pretty good. But I don't have the artistic yet. I don't have the artistic confidence to create random bullet holes and shit. So like,
It's like
and
me, where like
chipping.
people do the technique where you grab the brush bristles with your thumb and you like flick it like a toothbrush, and it's like they're like, just do this, it'll create splatter effects. Like there is not a chance that I'm gonna do that. Like I will paint every dot individually by myself before I go like run my fingers through the bristles, like flicking paint everywhere. Like that'll just, I know I would just have like a straight line of dirt.
Oh mate, that's
whatever.
you got to dive in with that shit. I love that. I love doing all stuff like that.
Like I'm really
yeah,
putting my like OCD on full display here. It's like, no, I'll ruin it. It'll be terrible. I'll throw it in the trash. Start over.
I love it. So what's so you're thinking of doing a scratch build?
Yeah, or I was thinking about doing it to customize this B-wing. I'm like, I'm trying to be realistic and be like, I shouldn't take on, like, I do want to do a scratch build.
another project.
Yeah, it's like I really want to get this B-wing done, but it's like, oh, that'd be cool. Like maybe I can do some like panel accents or something neat, or like make it do it in a hangar, like do it like almost like a little diorama, like have it like land in its landing mode, then maybe make some like little boxes or like little cargo containers, like a little ladder. Like maybe that'd be cool.
Sweet. I've seen it where people make like diorama bases and like put electronics in it, so it's got lights and shit. And
so I don't know if the post captured it, because I don't think I was supposed to ship it with a battery when I shipped that stuff over to you. But there should be like those like little noodle. It's like a little noodle in a bag.
Yeah,
that's if you put either end of that on either side of that little coin battery, that'll light up like a little beam. Right. That's what those are. But yeah, I watched those videos where it's like blazers shooting across, and I'm like, I gotta get some of those. I got them off like AliExpress for like $1, and they sent me 1 billion of them. But yeah, that stuff's cool. Like I've done one diorama, and like I'm excited to do it again, but that's like a whole different, like that's another level of like commitment where it's like, oh, you get into some crazy, like, because most of the leaves and stuff on there are actual leaves from outside. Then you like spray this stuff on them that kind of like preserves them, and you make them a little, and you paint it. Oh, it's so fun. I love dioramas. That's a whole different rabbit hole though, of somewhere to put
Sometimes
it.
I find like you spend so much time on a model, and like the bases are mini dioramas, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, and you show it to like a person that doesn't know anything about painting miniatures. Like, how'd you do that? Like grass and the rock? I'm like, how about the model? Like I spent way more time on the model. The friggin' dirt and grass, that was nothing.
Yeah, I used the static machine and went shaky, shaky, shaky on top of some Elmer's white glue, some PVA
dabs
glue,
of glue. Yep,
and that's
creates little tufts of grass. Yep.
But do you see the edge highlighting? I dry brush that.
They don't notice that.
I don't know what that means.
They notice the rocks and the yeah.
So
I want to get that like liquid water stuff. I want to try that.
Have you had the people who are like, I like your model, but you should get some, like, it'd be cool if it had like blood splattered all over it. It's like, man, really? Like, you don't see this paint job? You want me to splatter blood
You want me to
all over it? Just dip it in blood? Like, man. I'm gonna show somebody
So-
else.
So the jabber's done, Ed, yeah?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what's next?
is it time for Rancor? Or are you
I
gonna
don't know. Maybe I should do
you could-
this Stormtrooper and the
Dewback.
Dewback next.
Dewback? I knew you were gonna say that.
Dewback,
Like,
yeah,
you're
the
gonna go up,
Dewback.
you're gonna go up in levels, in size.
See, that Stormtrooper on the Dewback is gonna be so much harder though, because you have to. Do they come apart or are they stuck together?
They come apart.
Damn it!
Although
I
I
was trying
think
to help. I was trying to help, but
I glued it now. Now that I may have
because I will
glued it
say the
recently
hardest thing
'cause
I've
it
ever
was
had to
just
paint
coming
was
off.
a miniature Stormtrooper. It was a Scout Trooper. That's like all the black and white separated. And it's just like paint the black, paint the white. Nope, the white's in the black now. Paint the black again. Paint the white. And you just keep going back and forth until you finally have like the lines.
Yeah, I have a method for Stormtroopers, but it's kind of a speed way of doing it because I got a lot of Stormtroopers to paint, man.
You
Yeah.
act like it's not your fault for buying them. Like you say that with this attitude of like, I got all this stuff I gotta just get through. It's like, dude, you bought them.
You got yourself into this. Yeah, I know. But yeah, I got jetpack Stormtroopers. I got Dewback Stormtrooper. Then I got Good
Blind.
Morning Guards and stuff to paint. So
Paint the
weak
Rancor.
ways. Then the Rancor. Yeah.
Before it turns into like a meme that like you can never finish it because then we'd have nothing to talk about. Like,
Yeah, just get it done, Ed. Come on. And bring it over here in October. Look at that.
You had five-
fantastic.
you had 5 months of no work and you didn't get that done.
It's true.
Just cheat and do like a speed paint the dips, get like the can, like the little pint can, and just
Oh,
dip
I've
it
done
in there.
that. Yeah. I did that for
That's
some
now
Tyrians.
that's the cheating stuff. Have you seen those, Chris? Where it's like the
No.
speed shaders. It's meant for like war painter people who are like, I really
Yeah.
don't want to mess with it. It's a pint, like a pint can. You pop the top off, and you just take your whole primed model and just dunk it in there. Just dunk it, shake it off, stand it up, take the next one, dunk it, and like you dunk all of them, and they all kind of have like a glaze, and it all settles in there. Then you just come in and just paint the couple things that you
Oh,
need.
wow.
to.
So
It's
there's a
really good for-
technique I learned after I did that. I did that with my like 72 of the same thing over there.
72.
Yeah, there's a thing
Yeah.
you can do.
No.
You dip it in,
Screw that.
and yeah, you can wait for a lot of it to drip off. But you can get a small paper bag with paper towel inside it. And you throw it in there and you just shake the shit out of it.
You get an
then
airbrush
you're
and
done.
you spray it and blow it all off onto the wall behind you. Just
Boom. Yeah. No, but that was a technique I learned after the fact, which I knew before, because I had a lot of drips still dried on there.
how many minis do you have, if you had to guess?
I can't.
Total. Not
Go
just
on, Ed.
finished, but like you just said 72, so it's got to be greater than that.
Yeah. Problem is I play Tyranids. It's a lot of Tyranids.
I don't know what that means.
It's the bug
Is it-
army. They're the
Is
bugs.
it like more than 100, more than 200, more than 300?
300? Sure.
Oh my!
Ooh.
I understand why you bought that Preparation H sized black oil paint now.
Yeah, and that was for one thing, so I didn't use it. I don't think I even used it. Now I'm thinking about it. No, I used it on a green one. Yeah, I didn't like it, so I stopped.
So you put it in a drawer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like 300. I don't know.
Wow.
The
Dude,
Tyranids
that-
make up most of it.
All right.
Is that it for
I
episode
think that might
2?
be it. I think that might be it. I think we've
Stick a
We've
pin in it.
we've exhausted our ideas, and I think we're all motivated but exhausted, maybe a little bit. It's Friday or late
I'm not
Friday for some of
exhausted.
us.
I'm ready to party. 7:30.
I'm ready to start painting, but I got to go to bed.
Yeah, you do. It's past midnight over there. Thanks for listening, everybody. Shawn, give all the deets on the. I don't even know.
Well, we don't have any deets because this is only episode 2.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything set
Yeah.
up. But you know
Yeah.
who we are. You know how to reach us. If you like it, if you like hearing this, like let any of us know. Ask us questions, show interest, and it goes a long way. I mean,
Crafting questions.
We're gonna probably keep doing it anyways, but it does make it. I don't know. It's cool to know that people are listening to it and getting a kick out of it. Like, are there things that you like more than others? Do you like the ideas? Do you like the techniques? Do you like to just hear what we're working on? Or do you just like the banter back and forth? Yeah, it's just cool to know that kind of stuff. But yeah, you know who we are. You know where to find us. I'll send this episode to Ed again and see if he posts it on their feed. But you can find it on ours for sure.
I don't even remember you sending me the last one. Yeah, okay.
Throwing shade there, Shawn. I love it.
Definitely throwing shade. I like it.
With that, I'm leaving.
Sorry, toodles.
Cool. Yeah. Last one.
Chris, anything you want to add there at the end?
No, you got
Okay.
it covered, Shawn. Yeah, no, this is fun. I like it. Regardless of people listening or not, it's cool to hang out with you guys and talk about nerdy things that we're into. It's a good outlet, and it's nice to know that I'm not the only person that like dreams about rust effects and looks at giant bolts on the side of ships and thinks, look at that corrosion on there. So it's good.
Mhm.
It's good.
One of us.
Cool.
One of us. One of us.
Yeah. You did make me look forward to visiting you whenever I get out to California again there.
We got a lot of lichen and stuff on the ground, so bring a container. You can take that lichen home with you, use it on a diorama. It's good. It's good stuff.
See how that deck is going.
The deck is done. I'm done with that deck. I work out there now. I just sit. I'm so mad at it. Like I'm done with it. I just sit out there with my laptop. I'm like, I'm gonna use it. I'm using this. But anyways, that's it. That's all I have to say.
Toodles, thanks for listening, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.